Everyone, I hope all of you are doing great. Today we are going to learn how to create a collaborative editor. I am showing a sample of that. As you can see, I have created open two URLs. One is localhost 3000, one is localhost 3001, which means that the React app is running at two ports, 3000 and 3001. Both of them are connected to different servers, which I will show you later. Now, I'll show you how this functions. If I'm going to write something in the first screen, for example, we will be having fun. Now, I'll be just clicking in the second screen. You see, it automatically got came in the first screen. We can reciprocate it. For example, it will be a good session. Sorry. Now I can see the same thing is appearing in the first screen. So let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is set up our MongoDB. But before setting up MongoDB, let me tell you which all stacks I've used. I've used MongoDB for database, I've used React app, React.js for creating the UI, and I've used Java and Spring Boot for creating the backend. So first of all, I have to create database. I'm using MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database. I created two databases, Collab Editor DB, in which there is a collection Collab Editor. There is another DB, Collab Editor DB1, and it has a collection Collab Editor. Now you'll see that in each of the collections, I have some entries. Let us go through it. The entries are like this. Okay, see, the first entry is having some ID and it is having some values, for example, key and text. And the second element of the array is having some key and some text. Similarly, some key and text. Now, what does this represent? It represents the row in the editor. See, start writing. It is represented by row 1. Second line, it is represented by row 2. So, as you can see, each of them are present here. Now, the interesting thing we need to do here is nowadays in a distributed application, each of the we should have replications. If we have only one set of data, one set of servers, if if it fails, then the user will not be able to access the same data. Secondly, uh, since we are creating collaborative editor, we need to have some people to collaborate on creating some document. So whatever whatever entry is coming in the first editor should also come in the second editor. For example, if you see, I'm going to see this thing. First ID. First ID is having some content and I'm going to just expand it. See here? You same thing you'll see here. Start writing. Today we are going to create a collaborative editor. Right. So this is what distributed application is. It should not fail if one of the server is failing, and we should be able to simultaneously do our job on different servers. Now, let's get started with the UI. For UI, I have used React.js. So I have just created a React.js by using a simple create React app command, and then I have installed npm.js. If you see in internet, .js has been created by Facebook users, Facebook employees to create an application that more than one people can edit at the same time. So I'm using that JS to create my own editor. Now, once I created this, installed this draft.js, then I have to import the library draft.js. I've imported the library and some more classes from here and methods. Now, you see here, first of all, I have to create my JS file. That JS file is actually extended version of the component. So what will happen? I have to define the first thing that I have to define is the constructor. What will happen when I hit the URL? If you can see, when I hit the URL, just a second. When I hit the URL, let me open a new tab. So when I hit the URL, what happened? Some text has come. Now, how does this come? To get this first screen, I have to define one method async component did mount. What this method does is it does a backend call. Now, before going through this, first let's understand what are the fields we need for this text editor. We need to define the state of this text editor. We need to define the previous state. We will see the significance of previous state later. Now we have one ID. This ID represents the ID in the database. This ID, and there is we have editor state and we have previous state. So editor state is a class that I have imported from draft.js. Now this edit when it creates an empty editor state. But I don't want an empty editor. We want something to have there. For example, I want to start it with start writing. So you will see that I have done a backend call here. To do a backend call, I have defined the method name, the header, and what I want to send. So I want to send a draft ID and I want to send a content. So content is initially we have a empty content. There's nothing in it. Now I have done a REST API call. Let us see what is this REST API call. This REST API call is this method add draft. As you can see in this add draft method, we are just checking, is this ID already present in a database? For example, I'm doing one call to the database using this find method. You'll see that find method is a already defined method of this Mongo repository. When I find and see this is already present, then I don't need to do anything. I just return it, because if you see here, we have some text here. And if I'm going to reload this same page, if somebody else is wanting to edit the same page, they will provide one ID and I'll be giving the same screen. So that ID is also present in the URL. See here. Now, what happens if we have an ID? I'll return the response, whatever is saved in the DB. Otherwise, what I have to do is I have to uh, get the empty editor, empty draft, and put some text here like start writing. Then I have to save the draft, and then I have to do a to-PC call. What's this? This is the most important thing I think right now. What we want to do is to enable two servers or three servers to have the same database. So what this is doing a REST API call. Now, if you see this REST API call, it's calling a different server, and it is passing the draft JSON. So let's see. This method is what we are doing. It is what we are calling. Sorry. So this draft is coming from the previous method. Now what we will do is we will just check if it is not null. and we'll just be saving the database. So what will happen? We will have two entries, one in the first database, one in the second database. Now, once we have both the entries, what will happen? It will return the response which is having the text start writing or the text that we have got from the DB. Now, let's suppose that we have got this screen. So when we get this screen, what we get? We get ID. Let's see what is the ID. I'm going to editor, start add draft, and I'm seeing what ID that is coming from the DB. This ID is nothing but it's also present in the MongoDB database like this. Now, what I want to do is I want to start the server at two ports. If you can see, I have already started my server. Show you one server is started at port 8080 and my second server is started at 8081. And both of them are connected to different database. Let's see. If I open my debug configuration, you see I have created actually 5 run configurations. Each of them are connected to will start at different port. We'll have an entry to which we are doing a REST API call. For example, if I get a request at 8080, I want the same request to be saved in the DB of 8081 port. Like the first DB is connected to database collab editor DB, and the second server is connected to collab editor DB1. Now, I've already shown you how we save the same data in both the database, like I do a REST API call. Now, we have already started. Now, what I will do is like I will just copy this ID and I will just paste it here. And now I'll be reloading this. Now you see both of them are having a same initial data. Now I want to write something. This is my first YouTube tutorial. Now you see the same thing will be appearing in the second screen if I click here. So what's happening? I'm Whenever I do a click on the screen, a request goes to backend. Let me show you. I'm clicking here. It's caught here. 1 minute. That debugger, and one backend call is done to save a draft. But what you'll see, there is the key and value is null. We don't want to write anything. This everything like what key we want to send, what value we want to send, what we want to write are all present in the code. I'll show you code 1 minute. So for example, I have written something. I am happy today. As you see, whatever I am writing, everything is going in the. Those are the simple clicks. That's why nothing is coming. We'll see somewhere. Like you see, key is age dev and value is I. So I is going there. Next you'll see IA is going. Next you'll see I am is going. So it is sending the row which I want to edit. You see the code now. UI. So in the UI code, what happens whenever we click on a screen, this method gets called editor state change. Whenever the editor state changes, what it does is it saves the current state. And it also we also have to do the backend call. So I've written this method save content. What save content does is it is storing a variable previous content and a current content. The significance of previous content is that if I am just clicking here, like doing nothing, I don't I don't want to do a backend call, but I don't want to do any changes in the backend. So it will reduce the time. So now additionally, what will happen? I I want to whenever I do a backend call, some response is coming, right? If you see here, this response, this response is containing every data like this. So I need to know whether we want to do the update or not. So that's why I have used a variable previous content as a state. Now I just check that did I do some changes? If I did not do any changes, then I'm not going to write anything. Otherwise, I'll be writing the text in the backend. Now I'm just sending these variables in this post method, which is calling the save method. Let's see how is the same method looking. The same method. Let's see. So this is my save method. In the save method, I check is this draft already present in the DB? If it is present, then we have to do a different logic. If it is not present, then we have to write in the DB. Now, in the front from the front end, we are also getting this variable. Do we need to write in the DB or not? If we don't need to write in the DB, we don't do anything. But if we have to write in DB, then I'm checking. There are various checks like is it empty? If it is not empty, then only what we are doing, we are saving the text. We are getting the front end in the saved draft. And this saved draft, we are actually saving in the DB. After saving in the DB, we are sending the same draft to the next server. And then we are sending the response back. So let us finally see the MongoDB content, how it looks like. So as you can see that whatever there are many entries, and you will see that both of them are having the same entries that will help in, in creating a reliable fault tolerant distributed application. If one of the server is down, we can get the data from other server. So as you can see here, let us see some more things like I'm passing the draft ID in the URL. So we will know that we already have some data here, pull the same data. Now, one thing lagging here is we don't have the WebSocket right now. What we are having is a REST API. If we create a WebSockets, what will happen? Whatever I'm writing here will automatically appear here. Right now, I have to click here. So then after the response from backend come and we'll see the data. So this is one change that I think we need to do, and the fault tolerant part that if we are not getting some data, then try another server. These are the few additions that I want to add. Let's keep the video short. I'll be posting the GitHub links below this video. Do like my video, subscribe, and I'll be coming with more videos. Thank you. Have a nice day.